This is your grading rubric for portraits. Each one is worth 20 points. It's a vertical composition, and the size will be about 3 knuckle lengths between each one of your knuckles on your forefinger. Neatness for line quality. When you take your time, your line quality will change, and your pressure will change, your values will change. Empathy, pretending that your tool is on the surface of your object. That includes when you're shading as well. There's not one straight line in anything made by nature, animals, plants, or people. So when you go to shade, pretend that your pencil's on the surface of your face. And then value scale. The 5 ways light affects an object. Highlight, where the light is hitting an object at a 90-degree angle, like your pupil, your black pupil. Everyone's pupil has a highlight in it. And then there's the halftone. For example, if you were looking at your nose, there would be a highlight, and around the highlight would be a halftone. That's a half shade darker than the highlight. As your nose turns away from the light source, it creates a soft edge, your core shadow. That means some light is able to seep down and some is not. Then there's light reflecting off your upper lip, which creates reflected light. And then your last one, number 1, is your cast shadow. So there's cast shadow, number 1, your darkest value, core shadow, number 2, reflective light, number 3, halftone, number 4, and highlight, number 5. So we're going to take this paper, we're going to turn it over, and we're going to go down 1 knuckle, and we're going to make a dot. Go down 1 knuckle and make a dot. Then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 knuckles down. So this is how large your face needs to be. Otherwise it's going to cost you 20 points. So we want to come out about here. When you're drawing, you're not just looking at the positive space, you're looking at the positive and negative space and their relationship to the picture plane. So look where this is, over here. This is approximately a 4x6 piece of paper. So between these 2 dots, I use what's called the power of visualization. I visualize a straight line between here and how I want it to go out. I make a middle dot. Then I warm my muscles up. I go out and down. From this dot to this dot, again, I imagine a straight line. It's going to go out here. We'll be tweaking this up later. So now I can imagine a visual line going down the middle of my face. I can lay my pencil down and pinch it where I think that imaginary middle line is. So I try to make my face symmetrical. So it needs to go somewhere around in here. Always be turning your paper around so that your stroke is going out and down. So from this dot to this dot, imagine a straight line. Middle dot out here, warm my muscles up, bring my pencil down. From this dot to this dot, I imagine a straight line, put a middle dot out about here. This is to get our basic shape. Then we can tweak it. cut off the chin, the pointing of the chin. See what this is? Yeah, this is, okay. I'm gonna bring this out a little bit. Okay, so this will be a frontal view. And so we create a line. Remember, we're not making any straight lines because anything made by nature does not have one straight line in it. Our eyes are in the middle of our head. So if we lay our pencil down, we estimate. We think, well, I think this is where the middle of my face is. I pinch it right here, bring it down. Nope, needs to come down a little bit. Lay it down, pinch it right, my forefinger and my thumb right at the head here. Bring it down, there we go. So this is where the eyes need to go. So I visualize again a straight line to bring it up slightly at both ends. Again, we're going to be tweaking this up. Yeah, I see that's a little high. It's still high. Okay. From your eyes to your chin, your nose is half of that. Again, we scan our eyes across here, and now we can check to see if it's in half. That's pretty close. So that is our nose, that's where our nose line's going to be. From your nose to your chin, your mouth is 1/3 of the way. So if we would divide this area into 3 equal sections, 1/3 down is where your mouth goes. Now, if you take your finger and feel right at your eye, your temple comes in here. So when we want a subtle curved line, always apply critical thinking skills, studying where that subtle curve goes in or out. Make a dot before you draw the line. Same with right here, right about here. From your eyes to your nose, that distance is the same as from your eyes to your forehead. And don't make this a straight line again. Anything made by nature does not have a straight line in it. So that needs to curve down, and this will curve up. So you can fit one eye between your two eyes, and you can fit 5 eyes across your face. So if we say this is a half eye and this is a half an eye, and we can lay our pencil down and measure that. So here's one eye right here. I measure here. Here's another eye right here. This is a little wide. Let's just lighten tighten up these lines a little bit. One. And over here a little bit more. This needs to come in a little bit more. Okay, so just make it, don't try to draw the pupil, just put a dot the center of that each pupil right below that eye line. Now if I keep my eye, I got my hand rested on the table, I keep my eye on that dot while I go around it. And then come in, leave some white speck, a highlight there. Same with here. Go around. I'm going to apply empathy, pretending that my tool is on the surface of a real eye, and I'm going to cut off part of that top of that eye. This is off center. I like the way this looks. All right, so your nose is halfway from your eyes to your chin, and your nose has 3 outs and 2 ins. The 2 outs, well, let's do the 3rd out, is the septum. So make a dot, I'll zoom in. Make a dot right below the nose line, and then do a little curved line for the septum. Then erase that line right there. Now, even though everybody looks different, everyone's face proportions are the same. If you drew a straight line down from the inner of your eye, it would line up with your outer nostril. So I visualize a straight line coming down here and make a little curved line there. I'm going to turn it upside down so that I can go out and down with my stroke. So here's my line from the inner eye, and here's my outer nostril. See that my septum's a little off. So we got 3 outs, both the nostrils and the septum. And now we do our 2 ins. Nose has 3 outs and 2 ins. So when we do the 2 ins, we go from the septum and we curl it, but don't touch the outer wing. Same with over here. And of course, everyone's nostril wings and nostril shapes are going to be different, but everyone's proportions are basically the same. Now we go to the mouth. The mouth boundaries do not go beyond the center of the eye. So that's why it's important that if you have your eyes too far apart or too narrow, it's going to throw your mouth off. When one variable's off, it affects all other variables. So I imagine a straight line coming down from the center of the eye. There's the mouth boundary there. And then here's the mouth boundary here. Now these mouth boundaries, there's not going to be an upper or lower lip all the way here. It's just going to be a line. And to differentiate one person from another would be very close and very subtle differences. Some people's mouths curl up at the end, some curl down, and some go straight back. So we'll make this one curl up. All right, now we're going to make a dot. Your upper lip overlaps your lower lip, so we make a dot in the center below the upper lip. Now we go from here and curve this down, and it's going to go up and then down and then up, down and up. There are 5 spheres on everyone's mouth. That's like a little circle. There's one here, one here, one here, and then there's 2 at the bottom lip. And because these spheres are there, they're very subtle in some people, but those spheres create 4 gaps between your mouth, and those lines are going to be a little darker. It's a little hard to show detail in this small of a scale, but when I show you specific features of the face, then we'll get into more detail. But right now you just need to learn the face proportions. So here we go. Now we're going to do the lower lip and then go around those spheres. And again, so there's a sphere here and a sphere here. Okay, so we'll be tweaking it up. This is just to help you to see why the shapes are the way they are. I'm going to pan this out. All right. So the next thing we'll do are the eyebrows. Now, most people, your eyebrows start at the eye and end at the eye, right? Again, we visualize a straight line between these two, but everyone's eyebrow arches 3/4 of the way over. So we make a beginning dot here, an end dot here, visualize a straight line, and make a 3rd dot up. I'm going to turn this sideways so I can go out and down with my stroke. And I'm not worried about the hairs right now. I'm just worried about doing the center rod, the main line gesture. Then when I'm putting my pencil down, pretending it's on the surface of a real hair, curving it, going out and down. Okay, so okay, don't worry about the flatness. We will be putting a detail in. Right, so now the eyelids. Some people you see a lot of eyelid, some you see no eyelid, some you see some partial. Again, we're using empathy, pretending that our tool is on the surface of the object. Okay. So now, another face proportion. Everyone's top of the eye, top of their ears line up with about their eyebrow, right here. Right here. And the bottom of your ears line up with the end of your nose. It looks like my nose is a little bit more than halfway. So I'll double check. Yeah, it is. Just a slight. Just bring the chin down a little bit. I had cut a little bit too much off. Okay, so the end of the ear lines up with the end of the nose. So make two lines, two curved lines for the ear. Cut off the second one. Keep it close to the face. Bring it in. Bring it out a little bit. Now this is a side view. There is like a number 9 and a letter Y, and where this curves in is the halfway point. Your earlobe takes 1/3 of the length of your ear. See, actually my nose line is right here. A little bit. So we make two lines, take the top one, bring it close. We may not see much of the earlobe. I think I'm going to hide a little bit more of the earlobe on this side too. Okay, so if you take your hand and feel where your neck comes out, it does, some students will draw the neck coming out of the chin. The neck comes out from the base of your ear at the nose line. Make sure it's not a straight line. And the shoulders, trapezoids, come out behind the neckline again. Make sure that you do not make a straight line and you do not see the shoulders. You're not going to see the shoulders because figure proportions, everyone's collarbone is about 1 1/4 of length of their head. So whatever size you draw a head, you know that it's going to be 1 1/4, whatever size that head is. Then your hairline is going to be a little bit higher than this, your scalp. So depending on your hairstyle, a little bit too much here. Okay. All right, so I don't like the way this one looks. I did another one here. It looks a little bit more symmetrical. So before they acknowledge where the light source is coming from, I'm going to make an arrow up here to acknowledge that my light source is coming from my top right side. And so the pupil is going to have a highlight. So I make that dot, focus on that dot as I'm going around it. Make sure that there's a highlight on the right side of that. We have the iris, the color of the eye. It's a really neat pattern when you look at it closely. I'm gonna switch pencils, this one's too fat. Try this one. Lower eyelid shelf. You got your tear duct. It looks like I got this eye a little bit smaller than the other one. Okay, so now we're going to shade it. We're going to create a value scale. The best way to create a value scale is to make 4 dots at each corner, the bottom right-hand corner of your paper. Make 4 dots. Connect those dots vertically. And turn your paper around and connect them horizontally. Because light affects an object 5 ways, that's an odd number, we're going to not focus on the center of this rectangle. Instead, we're going to, so I visualize the center and move my pencil over a little bit. Scan my eye across that, divide that in half. Scan my eye on that. So we should have 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your darkest value is your cast shadow. So I'm using an 8B on my cast shadow. Try to drown out all the white. Oh, you've got white blading through. It prevents the viewer from absorbing that image, that shape. So there's my cast shadow. I can label that CAS. CAS. That's your darkest value. Now we're going to work our way from the outside in. And trying to find my 2H. Well, I'll just put an HB on there. And we'll do this. Our highlight, we just want to put a little bit of graphite down there. And then distribute that lightly. Highlight is the lightest value, but it's never stark white. We'll just put that high. We're working our way from the outside in because your reflected light is the hardest one to capture. So now I'm going to do a 4B. This is a Faber-Castell 4B. I'm going to do one stroke at a time, building it lightly, drowning out all the white. Compare the two. So that's going to be my core shadow. C-O-R-E, core shadow. Cast shadow has a hard edge. That means a distinct line, like in a cast shadow. Core shadow means that's where the object's turning away from the light source, and some light is able to seep down and some is not. So that creates what's called a soft edge. Artists are constantly thinking of hard edges and soft edges, light source, and values when drawing or painting. So now I'm going to do a halftone, and I just need to put a little bit more pigment on my halftone than I did my highlight, and I think my highlight is a little bit too dark because there was already some graphite on this stump blender. Yeah, I'm going to lift up some graphite from the highlight. Okay, so our number 4 is our halftone. And then the middle one, the hardest value to capture to making an object look 3D, is the reflected light. So that's why we work our ways from the outside in, because now we know our reflected light needs to be darker than our halftone, but lighter than our core shadow. Let's see if I can use a 2B here. Make it up. Okay, so make sure I drown out all the white so I'm able to see that I have a difference in values. Let's see, I'll zoom it in. Oh, that's as far in as I can get it. So when an artist is painting or creating any art, they'll say, oh, that's a number 4, that's a 6. Even though light affects an object 5 ways, most artists use as many as 10 values in a painting. So instead of saying that's a light medium green, that's a 5 or a 4, or a 6 or a 7, whatever. All right, so now I've created my value scale. I'm going to pan this out. And I'm going to acknowledge my light source and apply it. This is where you're exercising your right brain hemisphere. Your brain has 2 hemispheres, the left side for language and structural thinking, and your right side of your brain is your imagination and your emotion side. So when we imagine if light is coming from this direction, where the highlights might be, where the cast shadows would be, we're exercising a muscle that's going to help us in solving everyday problems. Help us in reading and reading comprehension, being flexible and thinking. So it's not about just drawing, it's about exercising a muscle in your brain. It's going to make your life richer. So I'm going to take my number 8B, and I'm going to ask myself, where would all my number 1s be, my cast shadows? And you know what, I'm gonna change it to the right side. I think, to me, you'll feel more comfortable if my light source is coming from my left side, so it's your choice. All right, so I'm going to take all my 1s. Where would all my 1s be? My light's coming from this direction. It's definitely going to be a cast shadow here, cast shadow in here. Cast shadow up in here, in between the mouth. Think about those 4 gaps. It's going to be a 1 down in here. Pupil's going to be bigger. I'm going to do the eyebrows on this one. When we don't want control, we want variety in our strokes, we go up. Again, I'm applying empathy, pretending that my pencil's on the surface of the object. Some hairs are going this way. I put it down, I curve my wrist, and I lift up. Okay, down here would be a number 1 value, a cast shadow. Down in here, the opposite side of the neck. Underneath here. And underneath here. I really should sharpen this pencil. I'm going to do the highlight for now. So 4B. Or 2H rather. So if my light sources come from this direction, there's going to be a highlight around here. Never define the nose with a line. The nose is defined with values. So here's a highlight here. Here's a highlight going to be here. So I'm constantly thinking of hills and valleys, light source. I think this comes out a little too far. And on every stroke that I take, I'm curving my wrists. I'm going to grab I'll just use the Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga is a really good quality graphite. It's like an HB and a 2B in one. You just need to be sensitive to your pressure. It'll be a lot faster if I just use the Ticonderoga. So my core shadow, my number 2, would be around here. Then light's bouncing off here and hitting here, so there's going to be a reflected light right in here between the core shadow and the cast shadow. Right here. There's going to be a cast shadow underneath here. And then a core shadow because the forehead is turning away from the light source. Same within here. There's going to be a shadow down in here. Here's a valley. Here's a valley here. There's my 1. Here's my 2 value. Reflected light, halftone, highlight, I forgot about the Cupid's lip, the upper lip here. Okay, so if light's hitting here, there's still going to be a shadow up in here. I'm going to bring his hair down more. Erase this. It's going to be see if we can drown out some of that white. Even when you're using the stump blender, you need to do circles and pretend that you're on the surface of the object. Here's, we'll make a little bit of a value in here. Wish I had a cleaner stump blender. This one's a little dirty. The 2H, my 4B. Instead of doing every hair, just do the main hair partings. I don't like the way that looks. There would be a core shadow there. It's a hill. As it's coming up, it gets lighter. Also have some cleaner stone blenders. So, you can go back, lift up some graphite, make sure we're doing circles where the hills would be. There's a hill here. There's going to be some shadows in here because this is a valley. It's a core shadow, it's round. So if I take some other Q-tip and do circles, okay, so the lips, I think if I go back to a mechanical pencil, it'll be better. Oh, these are dirty. Okay. Try to focus on where those spheres would be and where the light would be creating that highlight area. You want to go around, focus on all the highlight areas. I'm changing my pressure with the eraser as well. It's a little difficult in this small of a scale. Again, we're not really working on the detail of each feature at this small of a scale. Learning proportions. Your eyes are in the middle of your head. Take this. There. Your nose is halfway. From your eyes to your chin, your nose is half of that. So if I measure there and go down, and my mouth is 1/3 of the way. It should have been a little bit higher up. I had this one higher up. And be a little bit more. This tool really helps here. This is called a Mono Zero. Mono Zero. It helps me. Okay. I've had surgery on both my hands, carpal tunnel, both of them. So I have gone from 9mm 7.5mm to 3mm lead. This is a 3mm. Helps a little bit, right? So I see that I've got this real one value. I used my 8B. Should have kept with the drawing pencils, but it would have taken more time. Again, it's not about, it's just learning the basics in this. See if I can distribute that graphite a little bit better. There. Not my best. There. I like this one better than I did another class. 7th period. Okay, so this is your face proportion lesson. See you again.